One Quick Question with Infomedia.com, your source for answers to your questions about websites, digital marketing, and more. I'm your host, Carrie Rollwagon. So today we are here with our marketing manager, Elena Harmon. Welcome, Elena.
Hi.
All right, so today's question is actually, it is related to what you do, and that is, how can I repurpose content that I already created? But first, let's start with why. Why repurpose content?
There are a few reasons, but I would say the main one is really just so that you're not stretching for content all the time. You're not, having to stress about it. And you don't always have to reinvent the wheel. It's easy to think that that's the easiest way to do it, but there are definitely easier ways to take some of that stress off of your plate, because managing content for your company is a pretty big task. I mean, there's a lot. There's blogs, there's social, there's email, there's all kinds of different things that go into that, and not having to reinvent the wheel on every single one of those every time you need updated content is really, really helpful.
It really is. This was years ago, but the first time I heard about repurposing content, I was like, I bristled at the idea, And then I went back and looked at, just as an experiment, I went back and looked at some old blogs to see if I could turn them into social media posts. And it was actually really easy to do it. It was I would find sections that I could kind of quote myself, and this is on my personal page, but that would actually work really well for social. And honestly, there were things that even I forgot I had written. So I seriously doubt that anybody is out there I read that in a blog post from 2019.
Sure.
Now I'm reading it again. I can't believe you, So I was kind of won over by that.
Yeah, definitely. I think, we like to assume that our social medias and our blogs are everyone's favorite channels, but that is just not the case. No one's really stalking us that hard. So it works. And like you said, blogs are a great way to do it. You can, use some quote from a blog for a caption of a social post, and no one's ever gonna remember that you did that.
And it is even if it sometimes even when you have to reword it a little bit, sometimes it's just so exhausting to come up with that stuff in the first place that is so much calmer, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I actually used one even this week. I took the intro that I had written for a podcast guest on my other podcast, The Localist, and I used it as a caption for social media, and I ended up rewriting it a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's still that moment when you're not the blank page, but the blank screen almost, when you're just oh my goodness, what am I going to do here? It took that away.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So as far as kinds of content that can be repurposed, blogs we've talked about.
Really anything, honestly. Blogs are a great place to start because those are kind of a longer form of writing than just a social caption or an email. So there's a lot of words to work with there. But even, photos, if you've already used a photo, you can also still create a Canva template or something for a graphic and use that photo inside the graphic.
Yeah.
If there's a little, spot for a photo or whatever. And it just, looks different. We'll use things from last year's Halloween party or something and be throwback to last year's Halloween. We're so excited for this one. Something like that. It's actually pretty simple. You can reuse pretty much or repurpose pretty much any kind of content.
Well, how do you make that seem original? Do you have to do anything? Do you just run it exactly the same, or do you do something to make it seem a little fresher?
Yeah, I think with our strategy, at least, we may have talked about this on a previous episode at some point, but we have monthly topics that we focus on. Each month there's one thing that we focus, a few social posts and a few blogs around it. And so I think that with those, it can feel redundant, but I guess an example would be if I'm planning our social media strategy, we post about 2 blogs a month, like on average. I will obviously promote those blog posts when they're posted, but I will also usually try to create like another separate graphic that actually has some content from the blog post in there.
Yeah.
A lot of times in a blog, you tend to write in a list format, like here's 5 ways to do this thing or 3 ways or whatever it is. And those are things that are easy to put into a graphic and then just put like a simple caption with it. Like, here's your information. You don't have to go all the way to the blog to get it. And people are not going to know that you are stealing it straight from your blog. You know what I mean? Like, especially if you, like you said, if you can rephrase it, rework it just a little bit, maybe simplify it and shorten it just to make it like a quick list for a social post or something like that. I think that's kind of an example of at least changing it to make it original.
Well, I like that. And I also like that you said like doing it when you're doing the blog in the first place because, you know, my example of going back to previous blogs, it worked, but that was even sort of labor intensive because I had to like read through the blogs and there are plenty of blogs that don't work for that. Like if it's something that is happening at that moment in 2019, I'm not going to be able to repurpose that, you know? So I like the idea of like maybe when you write the blog in the first place, maybe going back and being like, okay, this is written. What are some ways, like maybe 1 or 2 ways I could repurpose that content? And then that's a great idea.
Yeah, I've seen this more and more, you know, actually being like told to people. Like I'll see it on LinkedIn or something, a post about like how you can repurpose content. You don't always have to like come up with a new thing. And I would say the only thing or one thing to keep in mind is to just make sure that whatever content you are reusing is still accurate because depending on your industry, like in our industry and with tech and everything on the web and marketing and all that stuff, things are very ever changing all the time. So it's just important to make sure that you're not like stretching it like too far. But I think definitely from month to month, especially when you're using current content, it's really, it's not hard to get a lot of things out of like one piece of content. Yeah. If that makes sense.
No, yeah, I think that makes total sense. And whereas it used to be, I mean, one of those things that's changed, like I think years ago, if you had posted even about the same topic on multiple platforms, it might have been like, this is too much. But now there are so many platforms and we're so used to that. And also the way algorithms work, like probably people aren't seeing all those anyway. Yeah. And even if they do see the same message, I mean, marketers are always saying that think you want the same message in front of people like 2 or 3 times. So, yeah, this seems really smart. Well, great. Let's go repurpose this podcast somehow.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. I guess we could write a blog about it. Yeah. Maybe we have some good quotes or something.
Yeah.
Can get some shots.
I mean, we are going to repurpose it because we're going to post it as a social media post.
Yeah, that's true.
So...
And then I guess also we sometimes link to these in our newsletter.
Yeah.
So... There we go. Repurposing content already.
Yes. It really does make my life a lot easier. So
yeah.
Just play around with it. It's fun.
Awesome. Well, one quick question is brought to you by Infomedia.
Carrie is the host and creator.
Elena is our producer. And Brad Davis wrote our theme music. And you can find show notes that Elena actually also puts together and about anything we talked about today at infomedia.com/quickquestion.
And if you're interested in getting a new website, fill out the contact form at infomedia.com.
Awesome. So we will leave you with this thought. A real expert helps to clarify, not confuse. So don't take website advice from someone who can't give you a straight answer.